A few years ago, fellow YouTuber and friend of the channel, Yara Zaid, uploaded a video about the scarcity of black teen comedy movies. I love this video because, like Yara, I too spent hours familiarizing myself with teen comedy movies of all kinds and trying to find ones where a black girl was the main character, and the options back then were very slim. If it wasn't for sitcoms, we would have had nothing. So when I saw the trailer for Darby and the Dead starring Riel Downs and auli'i Carvalho back in December 2022, I was excited and ready to watch it with my niece, especially since we had just watched Do Revenge, and it seemed like teen comedy movies were having a little bit of a resurgence, and the premise kind of reminded me of the 2011 TV movie Teen Spirit. Darby and the Dead follows Darby Harper, a social outcast at her school who gained the power to communicate with the dead at age 7 after a near-death experience where she and her mother were swept up in a wave and both drowned. Unfortunately, her mother did not survive. Since then, Darby has used her gifts to help ghosts resolve their unfinished business in the living world and guide them to the afterlife.
There's no pay, but if dead people gratitude had monetary value, I'd be Jeff Bezos.
When Darby's former best friend, the popular head cheerleader Capri, meets an unfortunate end due to a hair straightener,
I slipped.
she refuses to move on unless Darby throws her a sweet 17 party that she has been planning.
All I want is to go to this party, to see my friends having fun and to dance next to James one last time, and then I'll move on. I promise.
Despite all the mixed reviews, I did enjoy this movie. It dealt with grief in a comedic and heartfelt way. Darby's powers allow her to talk with all kinds of people who died, but the only person she really wants to talk to is her mother. Darby doesn't know whether her mother has passed on to the afterlife or not, and that causes her a lot of pain because if she's still around as a ghost, then why hasn't she seen her? And if she's moved on, then that means there was nothing that was keeping her tethered to the world of the living. As for Capri, even though she starts off as a bitchy mean girl, dying young isn't treated as her comeuppance. She had her whole life ahead of her, and it was cut short, and she's rightfully upset. She wants to hold on tightly to the world of the living and doesn't want to be forgotten. All of Capri's family and friends are moving on without her, and as a result, Capri lashes out in a way a malevolent spirit would. It is unfortunate that it took Capri dying for her and Darby to reunite as friends. This whole premise could have worked as a horror movie too. This movie was pitched as The Sixth Sense meets Mean Girls.
What the hell are you doing to me?
Just say you'll help me.
No. What are you? No!
This movie is quite cheesy at times too, but you know what? I like cheese. I'm snacking on garlic bread with cheese right now. It's clear that the writers Becca Green and Winona Wilms are well versed in teen movies of the past, as Darby and the Dead hits all the familiar beats, taking inspiration and making subtle references to Bring It On, Mean Girls, Clueless, and She's All That. The teen movie tropes are proudly on display here, and the film really leans into them, right down to Darby breaking the fourth wall to talk to the audience.
You make like 10 new dead friends a week. How much more social can I get?
If I told you that the movie's climax had this big speech at a party, it wouldn't even be a spoiler. It's almost a given that the main character is going to give some type of self-reflective speech at prom or homecoming or something. Even though a lot of the bones are from teen movies of the past, Darby and the Dead firmly plants itself as a movie made in the 2020s. Movies and TV are still trying to figure out how to properly incorporate social media in a way that feels natural. And as the generation that grew up with social media being part of their formative school and university life have entered the writer's room, they are finally putting an end to scenes of people freaking out that a viral video had 70k hits. Why was it always hits? They had me out here thinking that the word views and likes were under some type of copyright protection from YouTube or somebody. Obviously, I can't say for certain that Darby and the Dead was written with a black girl in mind from the start.
That's why I'd rather hang out with the unliving than the unwoke.
Originally, Storm Reid was cast as Darby and would have executive produced under her production company, but I believe due to scheduling conflicts, she had to pull out and was replaced by Riel Downs. With Darby being black, the styling and makeover was handled really well. It's clear that steps were taken to not reinforce harmful stereotypes. It has become such a cliche that before a makeover, a girl has unkept, frizzy, curly hair. Now, while a better routine, gel, and some mousse would be the ideal solution, it's almost never suggested, as straightened hair is the go-to option. When we first meet teenage Darby, her hair is straight. It looks like a bad sew-in or wig. Then when she's undergoing her makeover, we see her twisting her natural hair. And in the reveal, she's sporting a lovely twist out. I remember when this screen cap was making its way around Twitter and people were clowning her hair, saying, "What is this? And why couldn't they have hired a black hairstylist?" And without context of the movie, I don't blame people for saying that. We have heard many stories from black actors being done dirty when it comes to the hair and makeup department in movies and TV, and oftentimes having to do it themselves or paying out of pocket for their own stylist to come in and do it for them. And don't even get me started on all the awful, ill-fitting, nonsensical wigs. Tyler Perry, I'm looking at you. But within context, a low-effort straight wig made all the sense. Darby was dressed in a way that wouldn't draw attention to herself. Lots of dark clothes that shows that she's still in mourning. And her hairstyle is very much part of not wanting to stand out. Afro-textured hair is unique, and even within a predominantly black school, wearing your natural type 4 hair out and free is not the norm. Darby stopped cheerleading, stopped wearing her hair natural, and hid her mother's clothes away because of the uncertainty of where she ended up. It hurt to have those reminders around, but this glow up and cheerleading made Darby embrace the memories of her mother.
It's just,
What?
you look like your mom.
Riel Downs normally wears her hair natural, and it was just nice seeing natural hair being seen as beautiful and the ideal choice for being true to yourself. And I appreciate how subtle it was. There wasn't a scene where Darby was going on about how much she's afraid of wearing her hair natural. It wasn't needed. Another thing that I admire is how effortlessly diverse the cast is. From the main characters to the background, it's clear that this was filmed in South Africa. The landscapes were a dead giveaway that this wasn't nondescript California. Also, one of Capri's friends, Piper, played by Nicole Maines, is trans, and this is the only time it's ever mentioned.
I swore I had a tampon in here.
She did. I put it in your locker.
You're welcome.
I wore white jeans. Do you have anything?
Still trans.
Don't you just love how casual that was? And in the locker room too. That's what I'm saying. Fuck you lot, man. While I did enjoy this movie, I understood why it warranted the less than favourable reviews. Critics felt that it was too derivative and did not do enough to have its own identity that would make it more memorable, and I can't help but agree. I would have liked to see more development of Capri's friends, Piper, Taylor, and Bree. Darby views most of her fellow students as vapid, shallow idiots who can't think for themselves. Then later on, she realizes that she was wrong for thinking that because she never took the time to get to know anyone.
Who hid in the corner, judging all of you for just being normal teenagers.
I feel that that scene would have been more impactful if the girls' personalities were fleshed out. If we saw Darby hanging out with them and discovering that she had more in common with them than she had initially thought. Especially since it looks like by the end of the movie they're all friends. The whole subplot of Capri thinking that Darby wanted her boyfriend could have been dropped, just so we could spend more time with the budding romance between Darby and transfer student Alex, played by Chosen Jacobs. There has been a lot of talk about the disappearance of mid-budget movies from the cinema in the last few years. Studios are reluctant to put them out there, unsure if they will see a return on investment, so they are released on streaming services instead. Teen comedies are usually mid-budget. The target audience may not always have the funds to go out and see them. And then you factor in the pandemic, where many movies that were set to have a theatrical release were placed on streaming services instead of delaying the release date. So it made sense that streaming services gradually became their new home. I can think of two fairly recent teen comedies that had a theatrical release that I went to cinemas to go and watch. There's Bottoms and Mean Girls the Musical Movie, which was actually planned to be released on Paramount Plus, but it performed well enough with test audiences that they decided to switch to a theatrical release instead. In a New York Times interview with co-CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos claimed that the huge event and fanfare of Barbenheimer would have been just as big if they were released on Netflix. It's nice to have confidence, But I have noticed that movies that are released on streaming services tend to have a shorter shelf life in the cultural zeitgeist compared to movies that are released in cinema, with a few exceptions, of course. And television shows tend to fare much better. It's been a few years since Do Revenge came out on Netflix, and it was praised as a return to form for high school movies of the current generation. I liked it a lot, but you don't really hear too many people talking about it as much. Not too many Do Revenge quotes and gift sets out in the wild.
I don't do cocaine! I don't know what it looks like!
Even great movies that premiere on streaming services are forgotten about quite quickly. As for the average ones, they barely make a blip a month after their release. I completely forgot about Darby and the Dead until I was looking through the list of video ideas that I wanted to follow through on or scrap. It was buried under so many things. I'm sorry, Darby. So is this your first time hearing about this movie, or did you, like me, completely forget about it? Let me know. Thank you all for watching. Happy New Year. Hope 2026 is good to you. As always, thank you to my patrons. As always, thank you to everyone on Patreon. Cheyenne Lynn, Hariana Hook, Kemi, Mariah, Y Zaid, Dezen Hill Richard Campbell, Critica, Hyphenated, Go Love, Amrit S, Isabel A. Ledger, Mapertuous, Super Keeg, Mox, Neek, and Sunshine. Consider joining for exclusive videos and behind the scenes content. Goodbye.